Have you ever found yourself looking at your breakfast plate full of fruit and wondering if that supposedly healthy diet could be worsening your Parkinson's symptoms without you even realizing it? Many people with Parkinson's strictly follow guidelines for a balanced diet rich in fruits and vegetables, unaware that certain fruits can directly interfere with the absorption of levodopa, the most important medication for controlling the disease's symptoms. I imagine you know that feeling of frustration when, even taking your medication correctly, you still feel that tremors worsen or muscle stiffness intensifies at certain times of the day. Perhaps you've noticed that at certain meals your symptoms seem more evident, but have never been able to establish a clear connection. Or perhaps you're a caregiver observing these patterns in your loved one and feeling helpless in the face of inexplicable fluctuations in their condition. I completely understand this anguish. I've been following patients with Parkinson's for over 12 years and see daily how small dietary choices can make a huge difference in symptom control. The good news is that there is a way to understand and correct these negative interactions between diet and medication. Today, I'm going to share with you knowledge that few neurologists possess. They have time to explain in detail during consultations 7 specific fruits that may be sabotaging your Parkinson's treatment without you realizing it. And more importantly, I will show you exactly how you can adjust your diet to maximize the effects of your medication. Imagine being able to finally understand why some days your medications seem to work perfectly and others seem almost ineffective. Think of the relief it would be to be able to plan your meals strategically, ensuring that each dose of your medication has the maximum possible effect. These small changes in your eating routine can represent a true revolution in controlling your symptoms and your quality of life. Let's discover together how to transform your diet into a powerful ally in controlling Parkinson's. Before we begin, I'd like to know where you're watching from today. Leave a comment below and feel free to ask any questions you have before we continue with our next method. I want to extend a special invitation to you. If you or someone you love is facing the daily challenges of Parkinson's and is looking for reliable, science-based information explained in a simple way, this channel was created especially with you in mind. Here, we regularly share practical strategies, exercises, and tips that have helped hundreds of people regain small and large independence in their daily lives. Click the subscribe button now. It's completely free, so you won't miss any techniques that can make a difference in your quality of life or that of your family member. Now let's continue with our explanation about the fruits that can compromise Parkinson's treatment. First, let's understand why some fruits can affect Parkinson's treatment. Among the many factors that influence the effectiveness of levodopa, the main medication used in the treatment of Parkinson's, diet stands out as one of the most important. But how exactly what you eat can interfere with your medication? Let's explore together to understand this. We first need to understand how levodopa works in the body. Levodopa is converted to dopamine in the brain, partially replacing this neurotransmitter that is lacking in people with Parkinson's. However, for levodopa to reach the brain, it needs to be absorbed by the intestine. And here is the crucial point. Certain proteins can compete with levodopa for the same absorption receptors in the intestine. When this happens, less medication reaches the brain, resulting in less effective symptom control. Many patients report feeling a significant worsening of tremors, stiffness, and slowness after protein-rich meals, especially in the afternoon after lunch. This happens because lunch proteins interfere with the absorption of medications taken at that time. The most intriguing thing is that it is not only animal proteins such as meat, fish, and dairy that can cause this interference.
Some fruits, especially those that contain high concentrations of certain types of proteins, they can also drastically reduce the effectiveness of levodopa. Studies show that patients who strategically adjust their consumption of these fruits in relation to the timing of their medication can experience up to a 50% improvement in the consistency of treatment effects.
Have you ever noticed that on some days your medications seem to work better than on others, even if you take them at the same times? This may be directly related to what you ate before or after taking your medication. Before we move on to the next exercise, I want to open up a space for something extremely valuable: your own experience. Have you ever discovered a technique, a small trick, or an adaptation that helped you better deal with Parkinson's in your daily life? You know that simple solution you found and thought, why hasn't anyone told me this before? Sometimes the best strategies come from those who live the reality of the disease every day, not from books or clinical studies. Share with us in the comments. You can simply copy and complete the sentence. One thing I discovered that helped me a lot was your contribution. It may seem small to you, but it could be exactly what someone else has been looking for months or years. I've seen people transform their lives after learning tips from other members of our community in the comments, and that's more powerful than any advice I could give alone. Let's make this space a true bank of collective wisdom, where everyone learns and grows together. Now, let's continue with our list of fruits that can compromise Parkinson's treatment. The first fruit that can compromise your treatment is the banana. Many patients are surprised to discover that the banana, so recommended for its nutritional properties, can interfere with the absorption of levodopa. Although it is rich in potassium, an essential mineral for muscle and nerve health, bananas contain considerable levels of long-chain amino acids that compete directly with levodopa for transport in the intestine. Studies show that consuming bananas up to 1 hour before or after taking levodopa can reduce the absorption of the medication by up to 30%. This explains why many patients experience a worsening of symptoms after a breakfast with banana, followed by taking the medication. This does not mean that you should completely eliminate bananas from your diet. On the contrary, they remain an excellent source of nutrients for people with Parkinson's. The solution is simply to adjust the time of consumption. Ideally, bananas should be consumed at least 2 hours after medication, or 1 hour before the next dose. Another strategy is to incorporate bananas into dinner, when the need for symptom control is usually lower, as many patients are preparing to sleep. Have you noticed any difference in your symptoms after eating bananas for breakfast? The second fruit that can worsen your Parkinson's symptoms without you realizing it is avocado. Although it's trending as a superfood rich in healthy fats and potassium, avocado also contains a protein profile that can interfere with levodopa. Avocado has a composition rich in specific proteins that use the same transport system as levodopa to be absorbed in the intestine. When consumed close to the time of medication, avocado can create direct competition for absorption, resulting in less medication available to reach the brain. In addition, its high caloric and fat density can delay gastric emptying, causing levodopa to remain longer in the stomach, where it is not properly absorbed. Many patients report that after eating avocado toast or guacamole, they feel an increase in muscle stiffness and tremors in the following hours without understanding the connection.
The recommendation is not to eliminate avocado, which has many nutritional benefits, but rather to consume it preferably at times further away from the medication, for example, as part of dinner when you have already taken your last daily dose of levodopa, or in snacks well separated from the medication times.
Interestingly, some patients have found that by transferring avocado consumption for the evening period experienced a significant improvement in symptom control during the day. Have you noticed any change in your symptoms after eating avocado at different times of the day? The third fruit that may be compromising your treatment is papaya. Although it is excellent for digestive health, papaya contains an enzyme called papain, which can affect the absorption of levodopa. Papaya is often recommended for Parkinson's patients due to its digestive properties and high fiber content, which help combat constipation, a common problem in the disease. However, few know that papain, a proteolytic enzyme abundant mainly in green or semi-ripe papaya, can significantly interfere with the absorption and effectiveness of levodopa. This occurs because papain alters the environment of the digestive tract, affecting the intestine's ability to properly absorb the medication. Studies show that patients who consume papaya up to 1 hour before or after taking levodopa may experience a reduction of up to 25% in the medication's effectiveness, resulting in suboptimal symptom control. The good news is that you don't need to eliminate this beneficial fruit from your diet. The solution is simple. Consume papaya at least 2 hours after taking your medication or 1 hour before the next dose. Alternatively, choose fully ripe papaya, which contains lower levels of active papain. Some patients report that transferring consumption of papaya for an afternoon snack when the lunch dose has already been absorbed, and there is still time for the evening dose, resulted in better symptom control. Have you ever noticed any relationship between papaya consumption and the effectiveness of your medication? The fourth fruit that may be sabotaging your treatment is pineapple. Like papaya, pineapple contains a proteolytic enzyme called bromelain, which can interfere with the absorption of levodopa. Pineapple is a delicious tropical fruit rich in vitamin C and manganese, important nutrients for people with Parkinson's. However, its characteristic enzyme, bromelain, is at the heart of the interference with Parkinson's medication. Bromelain is known for its anti-inflammatory and digestive properties, but it can also affect the absorption of certain medications, including levodopa. When pineapple is consumed close to the time of medication, bromelain can alter the acidity of the digestive tract and modify the environment for drug absorption. Studies indicate that patients who consume pineapple up to 1 hour before or after taking levodopa may experience greater variability in response to the medication, with unexpected periods of symptom return. This does not mean that you should completely avoid pineapple. The recommendation is to consume this fruit, respecting an interval of at least 2 hours after medication or 1 hour before the next dose. An interesting strategy is to incorporate pineapple into desserts after dinner, when the impact on the medication would be smaller. Some patients report that by doing this, simple change noticed an improvement in the predictability of response to medications throughout the day. Have you noticed any relationship between pineapple consumption and the variation in your symptoms? The fifth fruit that may be compromising your treatment is kiwi, despite its high vitamin C content. Kiwi contains proteins that can compete with levodopa for absorption in the intestine. Kiwi is often recommended for its impressive nutritional profile, rich in antioxidants and fiber, which can benefit people with Parkinson's. However, recent research has revealed that this fruit contains a specific type of protein that uses the same intestinal transporter as levodopa to be absorbed. When consumed close to medication time, kiwi can create direct competition, reducing the amount of levodopa that reaches the bloodstream and consequently the brain. Furthermore, kiwi contains actinidin enzymes, which, although less potent than bromelain or papain, can also affect the digestive environment, altering the absorption of medications. Several patients report unexplained fluctuations in symptoms after consuming kiwi at breakfast, followed by morning medication without realizing the connection. The recommendation is not to eliminate this nutritious fruit from the diet, but rather to consume it respecting an interval of at least 2 hours after medication or 1 hour before the next dose. Some patients have found that by transferring kiwi consumption to an afternoon snack or to the morning dessert after dinner, experienced less variability in symptoms and better control throughout the day. Have you noticed any difference in your symptoms after eating kiwi at different times of the day? The sixth fruit that may be worsening your symptoms is the plum. Despite its benefits for constipation, plums contain compounds that can affect the metabolism of levodopa. Plums, and especially dried plums, are often recommended for Parkinson's patients due to their ability to combat constipation, a common problem in the disease. However, what many are unaware of is that plums contain phenolic compounds that can interfere not only with the absorption, but also with the metabolism of levodopa in the body. These phenolic compounds interact with certain liver enzymes, potentially altering the speed at which the medication is processed by the body, which can result in inconsistent blood levels of levodopa. Furthermore, the high concentration of fiber in plums, although beneficial for the intestine, can delay gastric emptying in some people, prolonging the time that levodopa remains in the stomach, where its absorption is limited. Patients who consume prunes or prune juice close to the time of medication often report a less consistent response, with periods of good symptom control followed by periods of unexplained worsening. The solution is simple. Consume prunes respecting an interval of at least 24 hours. 2 hours after medication or 1 hour before the next dose. Alternatively, consider incorporating plum into your nighttime diet when the impact on medication would be less. Have you observed any relationship between plum consumption and the variability of your Parkinson's symptoms? The seventh and final fruit that may be compromising your treatment is the apple. Although it is a healthy fruit, apples contain pectin and phenolic compounds that can affect the absorption of levodopa. Apples are generally considered an excellent choice for people with Parkinson's due to their fiber and antioxidant content that combat oxidative stress. However, apples contain a soluble fiber called pectin, which can form a gel in the digestive tract, potentially slowing the absorption of medications, including levodopa. Furthermore, apples, especially red varieties, contain phenolic compounds that can interfere with the enzymes involved in levodopa metabolism, altering its bioavailability. Studies show that patients who consume apples or apple juice very close to the time of medication may experience a slower onset of action and potentially a reduced duration of effect. This is particularly relevant for patients who already experience the phenomenon of wearing off, when the effect of levodopa disappears before the next dose. The recommendation is not to eliminate apples from the diet, but rather to consume them respecting an adequate interval in relation to the medication. at least 2 hours after taking the medication or 1 hour before the next dose. An effective strategy is to incorporate apples as an afternoon snack well away from your medication times. Have you noticed any difference in the onset of action of your medication after eating apples? Before we move on to the next topic, I want to create a moment of pause and reflection. Is there a question about Parkinson's that you've always wanted to ask, but never found the right space for it? Perhaps a question that seems too simple to take to the doctor, or a fear that you hold deep in your heart about the future. Know that this space is safe for all questions without judgment or simplistic answers. Leave your question in the comments. You can simply copy and complete it. My biggest question about Parkinson's is often the question you have is the same one that dozens of other people are silently trying to answer. I promise that in the coming weeks, we will address the most frequently asked questions in specific videos with evidence-based information, but explained in a simple and human way. Your question can help not only you, but an entire community of people who may not have the courage to ask. Now, let's continue with practical tips on how to organize your diet to maximize the effectiveness of your treatment. Let's now understand how you can reorganize your diet to maximize the effectiveness of levodopa. Knowing which fruits can interfere with levodopa absorption. The next step is to learn how to organize them strategically in your daily routine. The most important rule to remember is the time interval between medication and meals with potentially problematic fruits. Ideally, maintain an interval of at least 1 hour before or 2 hours after taking the medication. This gives enough time for levodopa to be absorbed without competition. An effective strategy is to create a daily routine divided into medication windows and eating windows. For example, if you take levodopa at 7 a.m., noon, 5 p.m., and 10 p.m., you could organize your meals as follows. Breakfast at 9 a.m., at least 2 hours after the first dose, avoiding bananas, kiwis, and apples at this time. A snack at 10:30 a.m., which can include any of the fruits mentioned, since it has been more than 3 hours since the medication, and there is still time for the next dose. Lunch at 2 p.m., at least 2 hours after the noon dose. It can include avocado or papaya afternoon snack at 3:30 p.m. Ideal for including any of the fruits mentioned. Dinner at 7 p.m. 2 hours after the 5 p.m. dose can include any of the fruits, including those with higher protein light supper at 9 p.m. Before the last dose of the day, preferably without the fruits mentioned. Many patients report that simply adjusting the time of consumption of these fruits without eliminating them from the diet resulted in much more consistent control of symptoms throughout the day, significantly reducing the off periods when the medication seems to lose its effect. Have you tried reorganizing your diet considering the times of your medication? Another important strategy is to adjust protein intake throughout the day, distributing protein more evenly between meals to avoid peaks that could compromise levodopa absorption. A proven effective strategy for many Parkinson's patients is protein distribution throughout the day, maintaining a more moderate protein intake at breakfast and lunch, and concentrating most of the protein intake at dinner. This is because people are generally less active at night, and the need for fine control of movements is less. Furthermore, there is more time until the next morning dose, allowing for complete protein digestion. In practice, this means an approach like this: low-protein breakfast, opt for toast with jam, honey, or a low-protein vegetable substitute instead of cheese, eggs, or yogurt. Moderate protein lunch, a small portion of protein, such as half a chicken fillet, a small portion of fish or half a cup of beans accompanied by a generous portion of vegetables and carbohydrates. Higher protein dinner. Here you can consume your main protein source of the day, whether it be meat, fish, chicken, legumes, or dairy products. This strategy allows levodopa doses to be adjusted. During the day are more effective as they encounter less competition for intestinal absorption. Many patients report that after adopting this protein distribution, they experienced a significant improvement in the consistency of symptom control throughout the day. Have you ever tried adjusting your protein intake in this way? In addition to reorganizing your diet, there are supplements and nutrients that can enhance your treatment and help control Parkinson's symptoms. In addition to avoiding negative interactions between certain fruits and levodopa, there are specific nutrients that can complement your Parkinson's treatment. Vitamin B6 plays a crucial role in the metabolism of levodopa. However, in very high doses, it can excessively accelerate the conversion of levodopa to dopamine before it reaches the brain. It is recommended to consult your doctor before supplementing with B6. especially if you are undergoing levodopa treatment. Vitamin C and E. These antioxidants combat oxidative stress, an important factor in the progression of Parkinson's. Fruits such as acerola, cashew, and guava are excellent sources of vitamin C and can be consumed within the medication intervals. Coenzyme Q10 studies indicate that this supplement can help protect brain cells and improve mitochondrial function in patients with Parkinson's. Omega-3 found in fish such as salmon and sardines. Omega-3 has anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective properties that can benefit patients with Parkinson's. Curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric, has powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Green tea is rich in polyphenols. Green tea can have neuroprotective effects and fight inflammation, but it should be consumed away from medication times as it contains small amounts of proteins that can interfere with levodopa. Magnesium. This mineral helps with muscle and nerve function, and many patients with Parkinson's are deficient. It is important to emphasize that any supplementation should be discussed with your doctor, as there may be interactions with medications or specific conditions. Many patients report significant improvements in their quality of life by strategically incorporating these nutrients into their daily routine. Have you tried any of these supplements or nutrients as part of your Parkinson's treatment? For people with Parkinson's who seek to maximize the effects of their medication, knowledge about fruits that can interfere with levodopa absorption and strategies for reorganizing the diet offers a powerful tool for improving symptom control and quality of life. The 7 fruits we mentioned, banana, avocado, papaya, pineapple, kiwi, plum, and apple, are not villains and do not need to be eliminated from the diet. However, their consumption should be strategically planned to minimize interference with the medication, remembering that the general rule is to maintain an interval of at least 1 hour before or 2 hours after taking levodopa. When implementing the strategies discussed in this video, many patients report a significant transformation in their treatment, with reduced off periods, greater predictability of the medication's effect, and consequently greater independence and quality of life. You are not alone on this journey, and small adjustments to your eating routine can make a big difference in controlling your symptoms. You've probably noticed how difficult it is to find specific information on how to deal with Parkinson's on a daily basis, especially content in Portuguese that truly understands the Brazilian reality. That's why our channel exists, to be that place where you find clear answers, without complicated medical terminology and without false promises. By subscribing to the Beyond Parkinson channel, you join thousands of people like you who seek to live better despite Parkinson's. In addition to weekly videos with practical tips, our community shares experiences and offers support in the comments. We've received moving messages from subscribers who have managed to return to activities they had abandoned using our techniques, from walking in the park to playing with their grandchildren. We're not promising miracles, but rather small daily victories that, when added together, transform your quality of life. If this makes sense to you, click the subscription button now. It's free and can be the first step to discovering new possibilities for your well-being. Remember, knowledge is a powerful tool, and we want to share this with you every week. Until our next video, remember that living well with Parkinson's is possible, and you are not alone on this journey. Take good care of yourself.